welcome to We the People. It's clear that the face of parenthood in India is changing and changing dramatically. These past few days, an accountant from Kolkata hit the headlines. Amit Banerjee became the first single father to actually procure a baby, because it has actually becoming like procuring a baby from in vitro fertilization. A donated egg from one woman, a surrogate womb from another, and Arjun was created. On We the People today, the many legal and ethical dimensions of surrogate parenthood. Is it a desirable way forward? Do surrogate mothers get exploited? And what about the rights of the child? All of these dimensions on the program. Let's start right away with Amit Banerjee, who joins us from Kolkata, who wanted to join us in Delhi but couldn't because Arjun is still only 19 days old. Now, just to tell our viewers your story, Amit, your divorce ended in a childless relationship. You were very keen to have a child. You went through all of this, but it's still not clear whether Arjun will eventually be legally yours. Just explain emotionally, what made you do this instead of, for example, adopting a child?
I think the right to procreation is a personal right, and every individual wants to have a biological child. The question of adoption comes in when I think the roots of biological children are closed. I always felt that since I was biologically able to have a child, I would explore that option until the umpteenth time, after which I would have taken a call as to whether to go in for adoption or not. So in the case of in my case, the issue was that is there a clinic, is there an institute who would actually help me to try to find a way to have my own biological child. And this has been my quest for the last few years. It's not been a quest for the last 1 year, but perhaps more than the last 3-4 years.
I mean, let me ask you, when Arjun grows up, and if you are able to get past all the legal hurdles in this, and he wants to know who his mother was, what would you tell him?
I would be very honest with him. In fact, I think Arjun, when he grows up, I will definitely be honest with him and be very proud that his father has taken such a lot of trouble to have him. But I think it's a question of pride.
But for Arjun, do you believe he has two mothers, or do you believe that his mother is the one who donated the egg, or is his mother the one who carried him?
I don't think so. I think for Arjun, the mother is us. I will be the mother and father, and also my whole family. Indian family is basically strengthened by the entire family concept. We all stay together. My mother is there, my sister is there. Arjun doesn't have a single parent. Arjun has more than one parent.
That's a very sweet thought, especially coming from a man. It's good to hear these things. Let's just get your doctor in now. Dr. Dastidar, also in Kolkata. Amit Banerjee hit the headlines, Dr. Dastidar, but the legal and ethical questions remain. As a doctor, when somebody comes to you and say they want to go in for surrogate parenthood, what's the one warning you would give them?
We all know that we have certain guidelines now, though there is no legislation, no regulation, but we have a guideline. There's a proposed guideline. And we are being guided by that, and that specifically says that there will be no bar to use of ART by a single woman who wishes to have a child. And not only that, no ART clinic may refuse to offer its services to the above, provided other criteria are normal. So this is a proposed guideline, and I feel with this sort of a specific guideline, which we hope that it will be legalized or there will be legislation. So we will counsel the couple, and one thing I'd like to mention, the surrogacy or surrogate IVF surrogacy should be considered as a last option, not as initial option.
Thank you for making that point. Let's come to our Delhi studio now. Dr. Indira Hinduja, who's here from Mumbai, really the face in some ways of test tube babies, of the whole fertility debate in this country. Ma'am, you just saw, now a single man is going to bring up Arjun. There are legal questions that remain on whether that child will be his when he grows up. Now, Amit Banerjee made a very sweet point that when the child says, who's my mother, he'll say, I'm both your father and mother, as is the extended family. Is it really that simple?
Well, I don't think so. I think child will face the problem. Probably, first of all, to bring up the child, it's a mother which is very important. The role of the mother in the house during his growth, everything is very important. Whether he would be able to devote so much time, well, we all pray that he would be able to devote and bring up that baby. But certainly the mother does play a big role.
My question is the same that I asked Amit. When you handle cases of surrogate motherhood, who for you is the mother of the child? Is it the woman whose egg is being used to fertilize the sperm, or is it the woman who carries the child?
Well, if you really consider as law the ethical aspects of it, it's a gestational mother has a right over the baby. She can always refuse to give the child.
The gestational mother being the surrogate
the one who carries the baby in her womb, because she is the real mother. But at the same time, when she's carrying the baby for somebody, that means she's carrying the genetic material for somebody, our first aim is to see to it that she doesn't develop that much attachment for the child. See,
how do you control human beings' emotions? How does one do that?
We see to it that as soon as she has delivered, we take away the baby from her, and most of the time she doesn't even ask, because it's a very nicely motivated woman. She knows for what she is doing it. So she gives away the child.
What you're really describing, ma'am, is a very ideal situation. We wean away the child, we ensure the mother doesn't get attached, but you're also saying that the gestational mother has the rights. Before we come to the other doctors on our panel, Pinky, we're already into legal grey areas here. Ideally, the contract says, I give up the child if I'm the surrogate mother, but Dr. Hinduja says, I also have rights over that child. What do we do?
I think we just haven't faced this question at all. I mean, in fact, the only thing which comes up in law is what would be under the Indian Contract Act, and which says that a contract which is against public policy, section 23, is void. So frankly, the current law in India is prohibiting such a contract, particularly for commercial consideration, like Nirmala's case in Haryana. 50,000 rupees, I'll have the child for my employer, in fact have sex with him, as far as I've seen in the newspaper reporting. Now we are not ready to face the situation right now, because we are going to have lots of conflicts. One, is the contract valid or void? If it is void, then how can it be enforced?
Well, according to the guidelines, no money is allowed to change hands.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. These commercial contracts in particular, in any case, we cannot accept. As far as the other situation is concerned, even so, a contract, can it be enforced? Because it is against public policy. The current public policy in India is that we have our own genetic children. The other philosophy will have to be addressed through these guidelines being enforced through a proper series of legislation. We can't just take it up. What if the surrogate mother refuses? What if the surrogate mother dies? What happens if the child is deformed? What happens if the mother says, I don't want to give birth to the children now after a contract? I mean, there are various conflicts. Most of the countries in the world are struggling with it. We have to realize that we have to have a proper legislation in place.
Okay, you've laid out some of those questions. I need to go into a break. We're going to come back to our panel. But before we go into a break, just to get a sense of the audience here, never totally accurately representative, but a slice of public opinion. Those of you who think that surrogate motherhood is entirely a legitimate way forward for childless couples and a desirable way forward, please raise your hands. An overwhelming majority, despite the doubts. There's a whole religious angle as well. Many Muslim countries don't permit this. The Christians will have a...
That is the reason.
Okay, let's just hear her and then you can respond. Yes, yes.
You see, a woman, when she agrees to rent her womb or to loan out her womb for carrying somebody else's baby, is not making a very informed decision, because during her pregnancy, her body, her mind, her psychology evolves in a manner which only a mother who's carried a child will understand. And you know, if you're saying before your pregnancy that you're ready to rent your womb for bearing somebody's child, your mental status, your psychology at the time of delivery is entirely different.
Okay.
You have traversed a whole gamut of
I think you've made an important point. You're asking, why is this different? Just a minute. Is there someone here in the audience who has actually gone through this? Somebody who is childless and has tried IVF or surrogate parenthood, or somebody who would? Since you all raised your hands and said you support it, is there anybody here who would if they had to?
I think surrogacy is not a bad option at all. First of all, we should get rid of the idea that money is a bad thing. In today's society, for a person to be given the rights to eat food and live and have a place to stay is equated with money only. You cannot do it in any other way. Plus, if surrogacy was an option, I'd easily do it, because as Mr. Amit said, the right of procreation is there to every biological organism, not just to a human. Go even basically to an amoeba, to a bacterium, it is there. How can we deny it to us, the most evolved creature at now?
Okay, but I want to ask one of the two doctors, and I'm just going to get you on the whole adoption angle. But before that, either of Dr. Hinduja or Dr. Mazumdar, why is this different from the organ trade? Why is this different from the organ trade? Go ahead, ma'am.
The reason is that when you are doing a tissue, it's a tissue implantation different. The uterus carries the pregnancy for 9 months, and that woman, I have to answer to this lady, she's not been forced. She's doing it because she's knowing that she would carry it, she will go through this trouble, she will deliver the baby. In return, if I'm getting the money, doesn't matter to it. So probably if it is any tissue which you are donating, you are minus that tissue.
Okay, Pinky, go ahead, Pinky.
In fact, today you're having all these major battles.
Silence, please, ma'am. Someone's speaking here. Yeah.
There's been a major battle, in fact, in this exact issue, because there's a British lady who agreed to be a surrogate mother for an American couple. While she had conceived, she had twins, and then the American couple didn't want the twins, so they asked her to terminate. She refused to terminate. So now we're having this whole battle going on between both these parents, the intended parents and the surrogate mother. In Britain, the surrogate mother has all the rights. In America, it is the intending parents.
What happens to a human person? Are we just divorcing everything of what humanity is all about?
I mean, why is it an absence of humanity? In some ways, if I were to flip the argument around, Amit Banerjee is a deeply humane person. He has decided that even as a single father, he is going to bring up a child.
I want to come back to Amit's case. I want to come back to Amit. How can Amit decide that there can be a child only by himself? There cannot be a child without the
help of two women and a doctor. So it wasn't.
Precisely. How did he do it?
Is the problem that he didn't take the help of God? Is that we're looking beyond immaculate conception, Father?
No, the actual process of a man and woman coming together, which is how we have all come into existence. That's how creation is.
Yes.
And he is trying to now act God.
Okay.
And I mean, create by himself.
Hang on.
Just a second. Only I have the right. Always a child is with a man and woman coming together. It is not purely his.
You made your point, but what we haven't resolved is a more serious question, which somebody in the audience called this reproductive prostitution and said it's commercializing the body. Dr. Hinduja says no. Pinky says the law is grey. We're going to get our other panelists who haven't spoken. And why don't people adopt? What is this obsession with biologically extending yourself into this world? We look at that after the break. Welcome back. From immaculate conception to IVF babies. What a long way science has traveled, but is that desirable? That's the question. Before we go back to our panelists, let's meet somebody who hit the headlines for actually being India's first scientifically documented test tube baby. Harsha Chavra is here, thanks to Dr. Hinduja. Hi, are you nervous?
No.
Okay, don't be. But how old are you now?
18.
18.
Yeah.
And when you sort of hear yourself described as this test tube baby, how do you feel? Do you feel different from the other kids?
No, I feel very proud because I get so many opportunities, so many, I mean, I'm like a celebrity only.
You feel like a celebrity?
I feel very proud to be a test tube of India.
And you don't ever feel different. You don't ever feel like you were created in this dish and so, you know.
It's like a normal child only. Nothing different.
Nothing different. And have your parents ever spoken to you about it? Why they went in for this? Have you ever spoken to Dr. Hinduja about it? Do you have questions in your mind? You know, what does it mean to be a test tube baby? Am I different from other kids?
Yeah, first I used to feel I'm different from the kids. But day by day, I came to know. No? So I feel nothing is different in test tube or normal child. It's like a normal only. They have 2 hands, 2 eyes, same the procedure like a normal child. So nothing is IVF. But I'm very proud to be a test tube baby.
You're very proud to be a test tube baby. You have a question for her? Okay, here, take this mic. No, once again, first take the mic.
I'd like to ask her at what age her parents told her that she was a test tube baby.
Okay, that's a fair enough question. When did you discover that you were this thing called a test tube baby?
When I was in 10th standard, no? At that,
once again, now let's hear her. Yeah, go ahead.
At that time, my teacher asked me, what is test tube baby, you know? So I said, no, I don't know anything about IVF. So you know the procedure? I told her, I don't know. Then I went home and I asked my mom, okay, what is test tube baby? So she didn't give me answer. She told me, you are too small to know this. When you will be age, no, I will let you know.
Then when did she tell you finally?
So she didn't tell me, but I read all the magazines. I came to
Okay, now the thing is, first you told your kids about the birds and the bees, now you're going to have to explain petri dishes to them. Dr. Hinduja, what's going on?
Well,
go ahead, ma'am. You were saying to us in the break that today it's actually possible for somebody to have 5 sets of parents.
Yes.
How does that work?
already Amit has 3 sets.
Amit's child has 3 sets. There's Amit,
Yes.
there's the woman who donated the egg, and there's the surrogate mother.
Yes. Yes.
And how does it become 5?
See, I may be the person practicing all this, but it really strikes me in the saying, are we doing the right thing to do it? So first of all, the lady who will give the egg, she can ovulate. That egg can be retrieved from her womb. That can be fertilized outside with somebody else's sperm. So already there are 3. You insert into somebody else's uterus and let it be adopted by somebody else. So one can have
never-ending wheels within wheels. Aruna, can I get you in now? When you hear all of this, it's like a biological obsession, isn't it? And there are so many millions of children who could be adopted for childless couples, and yet there is this human need to just have your own.
I'd like to say one thing here. You know, when you think of parenting, along with parenting comes responsibility. And so Amit should have looked at, there is no law. So he should not have entered into this because there's a violation. Everyone's thinking of the child here. No, there may be guidelines, but there is a clear violation. What about the birth mother? She has rights. There is a procedure for termination of parental rights. And he has not undergone all those processes. So what about the child?
Could be the sufferer in this.
Yes, and the child, who is the birth mother?
And as someone who runs an adoption agency, are you frustrated that people don't adopt instead of going through all this?
No, you know, Amit could have adopted as a single parent because there's provision in law. All the laws are in place. He has a support system. He's talking about a mother and father and sister. Okay. And so he could have looked at it as an option.
And that would be more human.
Yes.
And that would be more human. You want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Let me put it like this. I am Dr. Gupta, practicing infertility in Delhi for 12 years. We have delivered almost like maybe 100 surrogates in Delhi. Maybe it was not accepted lawfully or unlawfully, but we felt it is right of the person to carry and to procreate.
Why not adopt?
No, they normally, what patients we get for IVF management, they 25% of them, they have adopted babies, but still they want to have the baby of their own. What do you tell them?
But you know,
okay, it's a once again, the lady here wants to.
Very much a psychological need for the person to have one's own baby. Right from the beginning, a woman thinks that I should have my own baby.
But tell me, if that baby is not carried in your own womb, is it really yours?
Well, of course, if not mine, then my husband's at least. Then somebody, if the baby belongs to one of us, I am very attached to my husband, and the baby.
So tomorrow, if your husband goes and has a relationship with some other woman and says, "Here, I brought a baby home," that's okay with you?
Okay, it's fine. He gave me as my husband.
Okay, let's one second. There are other comments here. Yes.
Yes. As somebody who treats male infertility,
yes,
you know, as he said, though it can be within a married couple or a couple living together, but about 1 in 5 of these intending parents do not manage to do it, which is why we need to support them. And to have genetically your own children for both biological parents, the ideal option is surrogacy. The fear of what might be misused is making us go away from it.
Nobody's answering what I'm saying. Why not adoption? Is it just a psychological need that can't be?
Adoption as a possible method is acceptable to many of us.
Yes.
But on the other hand, if there is a potential for having your own biological child, it is common human nature to believe that it should be done.
You're hearing all this. The fact is that many of us are so cynical, we don't actually believe that tomorrow if somebody could actually get a poor woman in a village or their maid, that happens a lot of time. People use their domestic help as surrogate wombs. What are your concerns?
See, what my concern is no one is talking about is patriarchy. And we're not talking about before the surrogacy. What is the ideal prototype of a surrogate mother? Before you just open your morning paper and see the matrimonial section, what kind of women you want as brides. So, for example, we're talking about Amit. He has taken pains to have 2 people so that no one person can claim that I'm the mother, give me money. There are 2 aspects here. The socio-economic condition of the person who's going to donate. Now, the doctor is saying someone in a local train has said, come, I'll be a mother. This seems to be very, very out of the ordinary. Unlike blood trade, unlike blood donation and unlike kidney donation, this area is totally unregulated. And we are talking about a country where so many people are below the poverty line.
Okay, now before I know Dr. Hinduja actually has a flight to catch, so I'm going to give her the platform right now before we let her catch her flight.
First of all, I want to say adoption and IVF are 2 different things. You cannot mix 2 things together. You cannot equate or you cannot do it. Adoption is the one which are abandoned children lying in orphanage. That you cannot force on the 25% of the couple who is unable to produce.
Okay, but why is it different from the organ trade if you allow money to trade hands? How do we know that women will not be exploited? Poor women will not be exploited.
Of course they will be exploited. Where I'm saying no,
then
they would be exploited.
And why is that okay?
Therefore, we have to make a proper laws and regulations that prevent such things which has happened in kidney donation before.
Okay, so you're saying regulate it, don't stop it.
Yes.
But
we
one final
from kidney donation
one
program.
final question. When should the child be told the identity? Because according to the ICMR guidelines, right now the child is deliberately not told the identity of both mothers.
It is identity. You can keep it as a secret because we really do not know what sort of a mental they will face in the future. Certainly identity has to be disclosed in future in case there are some complications, like they require some tissue, they require some blood transfusion, they require some stem cell transfusion.
If there is a complication
Therefore,
in the childbirth, ma'am,
yes,
who is responsible for the well-being of this poor woman?
Genetic parents.
Genetic parents.
Yes.
Now,
absolutely genetic
they are responsible for the well-being.
One question is, if the child is born deformed, and the genetic parents refuse to take her, does the surrogate have to?
Good question.
They have to take.
One final comment from you. You said you discovered what a test tube baby is from the magazine.
Yeah.
So what is it according to you?
It's like a warm sperm of father and worm of mother. They are mixed up and they are put, I mean, they are injected to a mom, and the pregnancy starts within the 9 months.
You told her this, right? You told her this? Okay. So this is what our children know today. Can we really overlook it? As Dr. Hinduja says, we need to regulate it. Dr. Hinduja and Harsha have a flight to catch. We will take a break. After that, our debate continues on We the People. Welcome back. Indira Hinduja makes the point that there's no escaping surrogate parenthood, so the best you can do it is to regulate it so surrogate mothers and children get the rights that are due to them. Let's actually talk to somebody who has experienced this firsthand. We spoke to Amit earlier. Now a lady who wishes to keep her identity hidden joins us. Thank you for sharing your story with us. We know that your sister-in-law actually was the surrogate mother to your child. Has this been simple for both of you to work out, or were there any misunderstandings along the way, ma'am?
It was very simple. Actually, I have some renal problems, so I couldn't carry my children myself.
Was there any problem? Did you ever feel that your sister-in-law may get attached to the baby? She may not want to?
No, she is quite attached to us, and she was ready to do anything for us. So we asked her, and we asked her husband. They both were ready. Then she asked her in-laws also. They all got ready. Then we went with it. And luckily we were successful in the first cycle on itself.
So what will you tell your child? Who's his mother? Are you?
I have twins actually.
Oh, you have twins?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. What are you going to tell the twins? Who's their mother? Is it you or is it your sister-in-law?
Actually, they're just 5 months old. And later when they'll grow up, when they can understand this thing, I'll tell them how they were born.
So who's the mother? Is it you or is it your sister-in-law?
I am the biological mother. And now I have adopted them, so I am their mother. Legal mother is my sister-in-law.
But one final question. There were questions being asked here. If the child is deformed, or if your twins, God forbid, something like that had happened, would you have still kept your babies?
Yes, of course. They would have been my responsibility. They would have been my children. Kuch bhi hota, I would have done everything.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Mazumdar, is it as simple as she says?
Yes, it is. I've just delivered a surrogate a month ago, and it is the same bhabhi and nanad relationship, and they so beautifully got on together. Every time they both used to come for a normal medical checkup, had a cesarean delivery, and as a ordinary surrogate or a traditional surrogate would have done, the babies were given away to the bhabhi.
So if it's all within the family, it's much better?
Much better. It's
without
so much
money
better.
trading hands?
Without money.
Doesn't it kind of disturb the equilibrium of relationships within this family structure?
Well, I think even adoption within a family disturbs equilibrium.
But not between the man and the woman.
Well, I think if an elder brother adopts a child of the younger brother, it does. And there are inseminations which are from the family that also would do the same. Say if another brother donates semen for the younger brother and it's known to the family or not known, it can do the same.
Yes, Aruna, yes. Go ahead, make your point.
You know, earlier adoptions within the family were very popular. Now, in the last 10 years, adoptions from an unknown or from an agency are gaining popularity because when the child grows up, the child doesn't really belong. You're being brought up by...
1 minute, let us speak.
No, not who is the father. It's from the family, from within the family. So it's just that who is her mother? And the child grows up very confused, knowing that her mother is her aunt, her masi, or her whoever is really her mother, and she's being brought up in another set of
But I am surprised that all of us, being human persons, are forgetting what human persons mean, what a human being is, what is relationality. We are not individual human beings here. Amit is not an individual father. He is related to the whole humanity, and what he does affects humanity and what we
Okay, Father, that's an important point, but there are lots of comments here. I want to take some of them.
I just want to ask you one thing. I'm practicing infertility. I would just like to know, how can you deny a woman who's got some kind of a medical problem, like she doesn't have a uterus, or she's got some medical condition, she can't have kids? Why are you denying her a right to a motherhood? How can you do that?
Okay, you're saying it's an inalienable right. There's a question or comment here. Yes.
My comment is that, see, we all are human beings. If God has created parents without children, God has also created children without parents.
Or children with many parents.
See, of course, you see, that is our creation. Why can't, we all simultaneously start seriously thinking about adoption?
That's an important question. Yes, yes.
I want to ask, you have been talking to a lot of female panelists, and they were, I just want to ask them, I want to ask Amit, who is breastfeeding that child?
Okay, we'll keep that question for Amit.
I'm one with father.
I'm one with father. Amit is going to join us again in the last segment. We'll put that question to him. Yes.
No, I just wanted to ask father, why, there is previously there was not much actually development technologically to do this.
Yeah.
Now things are available.
Yes.
What makes you stop to do that?
Okay, we'll wait one more question, and then Father Emmanuel can respond to that. Go ahead.
We've been talking about the fact that who is actually the mother. Haven't we heard that right from the beginning Krishna was being brought up by Yashoda? So we've always considered Yashoda be the mother of Krishna.
Yes.
I have a comment for Father. Father, the ultimate aim of religion is to make people happy. And if a couple can be happy after having a child, I don't think God should have a problem with it. Yeah. And we had an IVF baby here saying that she does not have a problem. If nobody has the problem, why should God have a problem?
Father, why should God have a problem?
I have a good answer for you. Yes. Ultimate aim of human beings is to be happy. Please remember, end does not justify means. It means that you want to be happy, you want to take away somebody else's happiness. Will you want to be happy that way?
But whose happiness?
Wait.
Whose happiness are you taking away?
We're all talking about the need and the desire of the parents. They want to have their biological child. Who is thinking of the child's needs?
I think that that many of us may not agree with Father Emmanuel's views, but one thing he says, what about the child? You're all talking about the rights of mothers who don't have a uterus, who want to produce a child. Dr. Mazumdar, what happens to this child who comes into this world with a multiple set of parents, not knowing who they are? As somebody said, if the child is deformed, someone here said if the child's not a boy, they don't want it. If the child's deformed, they don't want it. What do you do in situations like that?
A genetic parent who is so motivated to have his child through surrogacy, I think would be equally motivated to have the child, whether it is deformed or it is a Mongol.
No, nobody agrees with that. Pinky,
there are too many cases going on of this kinds, where these issues are being litigated, where there is, just a minute, there's deformity or some other problem and you're having violation of contracts. But Barka, one thing here, what we're trying to address, or everybody's talking about need, like Amit's need. First of all, I don't know if anybody asked Amit the question, did he pay money for the surrogacy?
We'll get him back and ask him.
I think you should ask him that, because it must have been paid. There's no way that this kind of relationship would have taken place without a contractual relation. But having said that, I'm saying need-based. Everybody's talking about need. If I have a need to have a biological child, I must be able to have. So simply because technology is available and we are in a modern society, I think we have to start asking ourselves a few questions. If I want to commit suicide, can I do so? If I want to do abortion, can I do so? If I want to have an organ transplant, can I do so? I mean, we have to...
At the same time, we shouldn't say a blanket no.
No, I'm not saying.
We have to change as science changes, and science will change our values.
Absolutely, but it should be two different things. One, surrogacy inter-family, where it is without any consideration, and particularly where there's relationship between, like the sister-in-law and maybe this lady. And the second is commercial contracts. Okay. The third is category like Amit's, single parenthood, which as a society we are basically decrying.
And why are we decrying it? Sanjay, what's wrong with single parenthood?
The Supreme Court has said that even if the DNA test shows the father is not the father still has to give maintenance. Yes. So therefore, one is technology, other is law and morality. So we have to keep that also in mind.
What's your biggest concern? The rights of the child?
Rights of the child and the rights of women who are going to be the target of this. it's very good for the audience, she was saying, it's very good for this father to come on TV and make the whole thing a media hullabaloo. But at the end of the day, we are talking about very private issues, and these family issues also, where you have the HUF, the joint family situation. How do we know the sister-in-law is under pressure?
So we're really walking into a legal, ethical, emotional minefield. We're going to take a quick break. Lots of questions for Amit Banerjee. We'll try and get him back in the last segment. We'll be back after a quick break. All right, this is the last segment. Some comments from our audience. Guys.
Amit has been looking at things from a very selfish or an extremely utopian point of view, because he says his child will be proud of the fact that he chose to be the father in the way he chose to be. But that's not really true. You look at the cases of umpteen of biological fathers who have deserted their children. And as a teacher, my own experience is children bond because of emotional closeness, humanitarian reasons, and that has nothing to do with biological factors.
Why don't you admire Amit?
I don't.
Why?
Because later on, when the practical reality of fatherhood sets in, he's going to be like any other father and maybe even feel that the child is a nuisance.
I have to give a guy a chance to react to this. 1 second. 1 second, father. 1 second.
You can't underestimate every fatherhood. You can't underestimate every person. If he is committed today, and if he wants to go ahead with the childhood, and he understands that my mother, my sister, people are there to provide an emotional support and social support for his emotional and social well-being of the childhood. That is important.
Amit, if you can hear me, I actually am going to stick my neck out on that and say that's really sexist. I mean, women spent years saying men take charge, become fathers, become responsible fathers. Now here's a single father and you're saying he's going to be like any other father. Amit, if you can hear me, people here really debating your life, that must feel strange. But there are some practical questions. People here wanted to know who will breastfeed the child. Did money change hands? Do you want to just clear your story for our audience here?
But I get the odd feeling of, give a dog a bad name and hang him. I somehow feel that this is what the opinions say. My point is very simple. The question is that as an individual at the age of 46, I have no other options left to me in trying to have a biological child. That's point one. Point two is that if we're talking about public policy, that I think is for posterity to decide.
We've debated for the past hour here whether it's all right for the surrogate mother to receive money. If you can share this information with us, which I understand you may not be able to, in the case of your child, did the surrogate mother receive monetary compensation?
She received compensation to look after her health. I was fortunate in getting a girl who believed that this is a service to be done, in which case Dr. Ghostester's clinic basically helped me, and all her entire treatment and expenses were borne by me.
All right, Amit, I have to say that while people are making generalizations about men, I think you're an interesting new example for our society. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And unfortunately, we have to leave the jury out on this one. In 2005, as science, sexuality, moral values change, the traditional family structure will be turned on its head. There seems to be no doubt about that. Perhaps the law and people need to keep pace. Thank you very much. Many, many questions unanswered. We hope to have at least started the debate. Thank you very much.